Courtney Keil is an artist from the Central Coast of New South Wales who released her debut album, The Good Kind, last year and who has just had an action-packed Tamworth Country Music Festival. She has a brand new single, All About You, and some exciting shows coming up. So I'm going to ask her about all of that, maybe some more things. Hi, Courtney.
Hello, thank you for that beautiful intro.
Well, I saw you in Tamworth. You had a lot going on. So I am going to first ask you about your Fierce and Fearless show with Bonnie Kellett, because I saw you and Bonnie play that with Abby Ferris last year in Sydney. And you had a show with Bonnie in Tamworth. So I'm wondering how it went.
Oh, it went so well. It was such a beautiful afternoon or evening. It was an evening show. Tamworth's a blur. But it was really incredible and so special to get to do the show with Bonnie. Obviously, we got to do it with Abby for a bit last year, and now this is kind of the version two of the show, and it was just special. It was both of our first headline show at Tamworth, so to get that off the ground and just see, the months of preparation finally happening was incredible. We both got off stage and we were like, oh, thank goodness it's done. But like sad it's done. But like, oh, thank goodness we made it. It happened. People actually turned up. That's the scariest part of putting on your own show, especially at Tamworth. There's so much on. The biggest thing is like, no one's going to come. But people came. We had a beautiful time. We had some incredible guests. Amber Lawrence got up for a song. We had Cass Hopetown, Lucy Parle, Billy Joe Porter, Ruby Shea. It was spectacular and couldn't have asked for a more beautiful night. Moonshiners were incredible and just an incredible crowd. Like, we loved having a packed room there, and it just felt very, very special.
Well, congratulations, because it is a big deal to have a headline show, and it is a big deal to have it at Moonshiners, because even though that's a popular venue, when you look at the number of shows throughout the festival, it's actually not that many. So it's like you're one of a handful of people who get to play there.
And look, they were incredible to deal with. And it's just such a great venue. I loved it, like loved every moment. And we're like, maybe this could become an annual thing at Tamworth, because we kind of made it Fierce and Fearless and Friends, So it's kind of a nice chance to celebrate country music, get a bunch of the girls together that are doing amazing things in the industry and just celebrate country music.
And you and Bonnie have not finished Fierce and Fearless. There is at least one more show coming up. So that's in a few weeks' time.
Yes, yeah, we've got one up here on the Central Coast, which is going to be great fun at Laycock Theatre on, I'm going to say April 13th or 14th. I keep forgetting, which is terrible.
It's all right, I'll put it in.
But that's going to be so much fun. We haven't done it in a theatre setting before, so that's going to be really special to do it, in that environment. We've done it at Moonshiners, we did it at the Beer Shed, we've done it at the Sunken Monkey up here, or Rimba RSL. So there's been lots of different environments. So really excited to take it to the theatre and do it in that format, and hopefully have a couple of great guests there as well. We figure there's been so many incredible people supporting us on our journey. So if we can do the same for other artists, bring them along on the journey too, it's just nice to be able to do that when you've got a platform.
I would imagine that the two of you have pretty busy schedules. So actually getting one show together, let alone two already this year, is pretty tricky. So maybe there won't be too many more shows this year, but when you can do them, it'd be a great idea.
Yeah. Absolutely. As any opportunities that pop up to do it, we will grab it with both hands. We love doing it together, and she's just such an awesome person. But she is a busy woman. Like, I'm a busy woman, but she is a busy woman. Like, oh my goodness, she gigs like no one else I know. She's amazing. So, it's just finding that gap where we're both like, oh, look, we're both free on that day. Let's do it.
Yeah, fabulous. Now, back to Tamworth. During that festival, you won Australian Country Music People's Choice Award for Best Female Vocal for the second year in a row. That must have been lovely.
Oh, it was incredible. I was blown away last year when it happened, and then to get awarded that again, it was such a surprise and a beautiful moment. I feel very, very privileged and grateful that people actually went out of their way to vote. That's the incredible thing about the People's Choice Awards, is it's not decided by a panel or a group of judges or anything like that. It's people taking the time to go and vote. So that is not lost on me in any way. It's absolutely amazing that people are going online and voting and hopefully connecting with my music enough to want to then vote for me. So it's very, very special.
I also saw you play at Fanzone. I'm sure you were doing a lot of other things. Did you have any downtime during the festival?
A little bit. I actually managed, like, some of the evenings we were renting a house and just managed to kind of go back, have dinner, have a bit of a quiet night. I tried not to have too too many late nights. I'm not someone who copes very well on lack of sleep, which I know is not the best for my industry that I've chosen. But, I tried to pace myself, let's put it that way, and, get out to as many shows to support people, but also have those moments where you're like, okay, I've got a busy day ahead tomorrow. Let's not smash ourselves.
Yeah.
No 2 a.m. bedtimes every night.
And it was extremely hot. That's the other thing.
Oh, I'm surprised you couldn't see the sweat dripping down my face on the Fan Zone show that I did. It was amazing. I've never felt so warm on stage. I loved every moment of it. It was incredible, but I could feel it dripping. I was trying to like glamorously dust it off my face.
It all looked glamorous. I saw no sweat. You looked perfectly composed.
Oh, it's so funny. I got off stage and I'm like, lucky no one needs to see me now. I need to go have a shower. Yeah. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, I think showering regularly was what got a lot of us through that festival. Now, you released The Good Kind in February last year, the album that is, and the year took off. After that, you played shows with Gina Jeffries and Tanya Kernigan, with Max Jackson, with Andrew Swift, with the Whitlams, amongst others. Was there one show that was a highlight, or is it difficult to say because they're all good?
It is definitely difficult to say. I feel very, very lucky to have had some incredible moments on stage last year. Getting to perform the national anthem again at the Supercars was really cool. So another TV moment. One of my favourite performances last year was getting to perform on the Good Friday Appeal down in Melbourne over the Easter weekend. That was really, really special. And because I grew up in Melbourne, getting, watching that over the years, it was really, really special to get to have the chance to perform on that myself.
And you also went on Cruising Country, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh, what a cool experience. So cool. Like if anyone that's never been on Cruising Country, take the chance. If you get it, do it. It's spectacular.
And I'm always curious about Cruising Country because I feel like the artists are always with the audience, which might be a little odd. Or do you not mind it?
Yeah, well, I think it was cool because everyone's there just enjoying themselves, having a bit of a holiday, kind of whether it's holiday or work for the artists, but it's, you can't really say it's work when you're on a cruise ship and can sit by the pool and sip cocktails and then you go do, an hour show. It's like, it's not hard work. Very privileged position when you get to do that,
Well, except you earn your right to be there. I think that's part of it. It is, it's a lot of high caliber artists on that cruise, and they're not taking just no one off the street. So yes, you may be privileged, but I think
thank you. Yeah. No, it's a massive shout out to Marius and the team that put that on. It's incredible. They do such a wonderful job, and gosh, it's great.
So now to your new song, All About You. It is another toe tapper, which means I'm adding it to my Courtney Keil earworm collection, which includes Hummingbird and I Just Want to Hold You. What is the story behind the song?
Well, I got to write this with Rod McCormack, who at this point has just about co-written most of my songs because he doubles as my producer and he's just so incredibly talented. It's ridiculous. You go into the studio to write a song or record and he just comes out with pure gold. So it's amazing to work with him, but also again with Sally Barris, who co-wrote Nothing Like a Sure Bet and Let's Pretend, Always First. She's a beautiful songwriter based in Nashville. So we got to get on a Zoom call, get writing again, and we didn't really have a massive aim for that day. We kind of just wanted to see what would happen when we were writing, and this is the song that kind of just came from that. It ended up being just a bit of a conversation about wanting to write something feel good, up tempo, and write a bit of a happy love song. As songwriters, it can be easier to write the sad songs, which is strange, but it is. But to be able to then write a feel-good song, it kind of tackles a little bit of the complexities of me as a person. I'm a massive overthinker, work in progress, but so, I would say then look my introverted time away from it all as well. So we kind of tackle some of those different sides. Me, country girl, but grew up in the city. But then through all that, managing to find love and hopefully make it stick. So we kind of just got chatting and the song flowed from there. And it was the last song I wrote last year and thought it would be a great way to kick off the year with new music, something fresh, summery feeling since, we're still in the midst of summer. It was good to, just kick things off in a fun way.
Now, you mentioned Nothing Like a Sure Bet. That was a single you released last year, and it was a single that was not on your album. So I'm thinking, new song last year, new song this year. The signposts are suggesting that you may be working towards another album or perhaps just releasing a few singles.
Absolutely. Album is always, I feel like in the back of your mind, you're going, okay, how's this all going to fit together? And after releasing The Good Kind, that was such an incredible culmination of that chapter of my life and a good few years as well. You know, started working on that back in 2020 to finally release it in 2023. So it was nice to shut the door on that chapter and start with some new music with Nothing Like a Sure Bet. Now with this track, you know, I think I'm kind of just testing the water a little bit of seeing like what sound do I want? What, you know, do I want to put out there into the world? Because, you know, I love a bit of everything really. So I try to reflect that in my music as well. You know, the country is so diverse and I hope to pull little bits from different areas, and hopefully then, you know, once we've got a few good tracks together, we can pull it all together in an album.
I suppose also now you have an audience, you know, when you put it out. So you're releasing singles leading up to The Good Kind, the album being released. But now you would have, I would imagine, a better sense of who's out there, who's appreciating your music, who's coming to shows. Does that guide you at all when you're thinking about what sort of sounds you want to put out and even the subject matter of your songs?
Definitely. I think it's a big telltale of what people are connecting to. You tested something, okay, a lot of people liked that one, or well, that one was good, but maybe, you know, I find people always love a little bit of an edgy song, you know, those ones always tend to, you know, gel well. So like Hard Place, I feel like people really loved, and then Nothing Like a Sure Bet people grabbed too well because it's got that little bit of an edgy feel. But I think that's also reflecting on, you know, we've got Lainey Wilson out there doing incredible things at the moment that people are just grabbing and holding on to. And, you know, you look at different artists and I try and let them inspire me to go, okay, well, that seems to be working well for them. Maybe it will work well for me. Maybe it won't. But you kind of just get the chance to experiment and see what people like. And, you know, I think if you can have the chance to play them at your shows and get that feedback from people, that's the best way to go about it.
I suppose now that you have been working with Rod for a while, there'd be almost like a shorthand, I guess, between you, or you can be fairly easy collaborators because you've done it for a while.
Oh, definitely. Half the time when we're recording, I just sit back and just like, you do whatever you think, you know, because there's that trust and knowing that he's so, you know, silly creative, you know, incredibly talented that, you know, we write a song and we kind of already know how we want it to sound when we've written it. So we go into the studio and say, okay, we kind of want this, we kind of want that. And then I just sit back and I'm like, yeah, you go for it. You know, he'll be like, what do you think about this snare or this snare sound? And I'm like, I don't even hear the difference. You know, so I sit there and I'm like, whatever you think's great. You know, if there's anything I don't agree with or don't love, I'll speak up and tell you, but otherwise just assume it's great.
Now, I've seen you play live a few times now and in different environments. And I'm always impressed by your stagecraft because you have real stage presence, which you make look easy. And I always say when people make things look easy, they're not easy. There's a lot behind them. But it's also because you don't tend to have a prop of a guitar. Some artists, I would imagine, would find it's easier to have an instrument in front of them. It's often just you and a microphone, and you hold yourself so beautifully on stage. So I'm wondering how you developed that stage presence and learnt your stagecraft.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, if you know, I'm trying to use the guitar more on stage. That I feel much more awkward with the guitar when I know it's the opposite for most people. If you take the guitar, that feels weird. But when I put the guitar, I'm like, oh, it's all putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's what I want to do a lot more this year. So that's why I'm tackling the guitar, bringing it on stage more. But I think for me, it's more exposure therapy. I think more than anything, the more time you spend on stage doing it, the more comfortable you feel, the more confidence you build. And, you know, I was very lucky that at a young age, my parents sent me to dance classes. I did calisthenics, I did gymnastics, I did a bit of all of it, singing, choir. So I'm used to being on stage, which is great, you know, but it took me a long time to get that confidence. You know, there was phases through my teens where I would not sing in front of anyone. I wouldn't even sing in front of my parents. You know, I was absolutely terrified, crippled with anxiety that I wouldn't sing in front of anyone, even though that's the one thing I wanted to do. So it's very strange that sometimes you get those barriers, you then have to overcome them. And then, you know, I think you grow in that space, which has been great. And, you know, even in the last year, I feel like I've gotten even more and more comfortable. It's always you're always growing. And I think it develops, your stagecraft develops. And even from touring with Gina and Tanya, it's been amazing seeing how they approach the audience, how they work with the band on stage, even just their patter between songs. You learn so much from them. And I just try to be a sponge and absorb as much as I can.
Yeah. So those teenage years, and teenage years are cruel. Well, I think we all go through a phase. Well, a lot of us go through a phase where we just, yes, don't want anyone to look at us doing anything. Was there a moment where that flipped back to you feeling like you wanted to perform, or was it just a gradual emergence from that time?
Well, I think I always wanted to perform deep down. I always wanted to, but there was just something that was always holding me back. And it was probably just that teenage angst, shall we say, of going, oh, what are people going to think of me? And I think that was probably the biggest thing of, what if I stuff up? What are people going to think? Are they going to laugh at me? And, I faced and, copped my fair share of bullying in my high school years. So that probably contributed to that I kind of shrunk a little bit and went, oh, well, I don't want to do anything that might make people laugh at me.
Mhm.
But I think then I grew through that time because it kind of was evident to me that, but this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. I'm going to have to get over it sooner or later and actually do it, So I had some incredible singing teachers that got me through that time. One in particular down in Melbourne, Natalie Valley, she was absolutely incredible. And she was one of the first teachers also to give me some country songs to learn, because she's like, you sound country when you sing. Like, why don't we do a country song? So she gave me a Trisha Yearwood song, and that was kind of my first experience of performing country. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do this then. And I think part of it's probably finding your groove as well, of going, okay, actually, this is where I feel like I fit. Maybe I can do it.
So do you have any pre-show rituals in order to kind of conjure up that stage persona?
Nothing major. Everyone always asks me, I got to have a good meal before I perform, because I'm such a foodie. If I'm hungry on stage, I'll be thinking about being hungry and I won't feel as present on stage. When I know, once again, it's opposite for most people. They don't want to eat. They'll feel bloated. They'll whatever. I'm like, no, I've got to eat something. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking about being hungry. So that's probably the only thing. I like to have something to eat before singing, and make sure I've got a safety water bottle somewhere. That always makes me feel a bit more reassured as well. So I think it's the simple things.
Yeah. I think it's perfectly natural to not want to feel hungry while you're working. You know what I mean?
I know. It's so silly.
I think it's little. And speaking of being on stage, you have varied shows coming up. At the time we're speaking, you are about to do a show with Carice Eden, and I saw you perform at another Carice gig last year. So that's obviously a strong connection.
Oh, she's just a phenomenal vocalist. It's amazing to get to jump onto shows with people that are so ridiculously talented. You learn so much from them, and just had such an incredible journey. So to get to do another show with her is phenomenal, and I'm so excited for it. And just any chance where you get to learn from people that have been doing it longer than me, it's just I lap up those opportunities and take as much information as I can from it.
And that's at Avoca Beach Theatre, and you are back there later in February with Brian Cadd. So Avoca Beach Theatre looks to be like your second home.
It is a little bit. They're just really beautiful people that run the venue. I've gotten to know them a little bit over the last couple of years since moving to the Central Coast, and they're very welcoming, super supportive of local talent, which is so incredible to see. When they have big names come through, they source a lot of the opening acts locally, which is really awesome. So, just through that connection, they'll say, oh, do you want to come play this show? Are you available for this? So it's just really, really nice that they feel comfortable to be able to lean on me as a local, and then in turn I get to play in their beautiful venue. It's gorgeous. Probably one of my favorite places to play ever.
Yes, if anyone hasn't been to Avoca and to the theatre, it is a lovely spot on the New South.
Yeah, you're almost on the beach. It's beautiful.
Now, what is the Tamworth afternoon at Ringers Western Central Coast?
Well, that's going to be a fun afternoon. Believe it or not, my partner Josh came up with this idea. It was his little brainchild that he thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to put on a bit of a Tamworth afternoon out at Ringers Western, because I got to do a gig there last year with them, and they're just a beautiful family-run company on the coast here of the Ringers Western brand. And he's like, I wonder if they'd be interested. Maybe we could get you and Duncan and Jamie Lindsay and Bonnie maybe would be available. We'll see what we can do. And sure enough, they jumped on board straight away. And, all of us have become quite good friends anyway, just being local on the coast, which is lovely. So when they said yes, we were like, great, we're all in. So it's going to be a bit of a taste of, I guess, Tamworth on the Central Coast at Ringers Western, and make it a little bit of a like a mini festival afternoon.
And we should say that Duncan is two-time Golden Guitar winner, Duncan Toombs.
Yes, and couldn't be happier to see him up on that stage, grabbing those golden guitars for him as a solo artist. It was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And he's always been such a advocate for every other artist. So to see him take those home for himself was beautiful. To add to his collection of, I think, what, 7 others for his music videos, which is phenomenal in itself. But to see him take that as a musician for his craft, so special.
Yeah, and that was a great album he put out. Now in May you have The Comedian and the Cowgirl with Darren Sanders. Now that sounds like a show you may have created.
Well, actually, Darren approached me about it through Daniel Thompson, who I do the Johnny Cash show with. And he said, hey, I've got a mate. He's a comedian. He's doing these cowboy and comedian shows. He needs a cowgirl for one of the shows. Do you mind if I put you two in touch? And I was like, why not? Sounds great, you know. So he was really lovely to recommend me and put me in touch with Darren, and we booked that in to head up to Lizottes in May. So it's going to be really fun. So it's a bit of a split show. It's a really cool format, actually. So I'll kind of do about a 45-minute set of all my stuff. Then he'll come out and do his set as a comedian. So it's a bit of a, a good dinner and show type of atmosphere. It's going to be great.
So that's quite a varied range of shows you're doing. It's all you performing, but in various different venues. So I'm wondering, when you arrive at a venue to do a show, if you haven't played there before, do you kind of spend some time getting a sense of the space and what it might be like once people are in there? Because I imagine you have to tailor your energy levels and even how you move on the stage, depending on what's there.
Absolutely. I think there's always that element of unknown when it's a venue you haven't played at before. You walk in and kind of do a bit of a suss out, okay, how am I going to get up and down those stairs in high heels? Am I going to fall off the stairs? But more so than going, okay, how's this going to look? Is the audience going to be standing? Are they sitting? Is it a combination? You kind of analyze a few things to then work out your approach. But I'm so excited to play at Lizottes. That's probably one of the venues on the top of my list that I've always wanted to play at, because I've heard always such incredible things about it. So it's going to be a fun one. And like you said, it's a very diverse mixture of shows I'm doing, which I love, because I think it's just a really cool way to get to enjoy music and what I do in so many different things.
Now, I would imagine that you probably will pop in other things in between those shows, because if you're working on some new music, there must be other things you're looking ahead to. So 2024 shaping up pretty busy?
I think so. I think it's going to be busy. A few more things to announce over the next few months, which is awesome. Little tease there, but definitely more music as well. So, already got another single in place, thinking ahead a few months, which is awesome. And just you kind of end up planning 4, 5, 6 months ahead all the time, which is great. So you've always got things to be aiming for and working towards and being excited about, while also trying to be, super present and focusing on what you're doing in the now.
Yeah. Well, I will look forward to whatever that new earworm is that you're going to release. But at the moment, the earworm is all about you. It is your brand new single. People can find you at various shows, especially on the Central Coast, but I'm sure further afield as well in due course. Courtney Keil, as ever, a great pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Always such a pleasure to chat. Thanks for having me. Always good to see you somewhere around. I'm sure we'll run into each other very soon.
See you.